Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is ThandiwekaYah and it's July. It's a new month. I am so excited for July, guys. Like, I woke up this morning. I know it's the 2nd. I should have woken up yesterday morning like that. But I woke up this morning just filled with so much joy and excitement for what the future holds for us. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm glad it's a new month. I felt the shift. I just feel a shift into something different, something new this month. So anyway, let's get into the word, right? So this is going to be a word based on a dream that I had on the 23rd of May 2020. And before I get into the word, as always, please take every prophetic word that you believe is meant for you to the Lord. Go to Him, pray, ask Him for confirmation, ask Him for direction, ask Him for instruction, ask Him for whatever He wants to say to you. For some of you, this may already be confirmation, which is even better. I still encourage you to take it to the Lord in prayer so that you are able to get the answers to your questions and you can fill in all those gaps that I'm not filling in here, right? Okay, so I've decided to take a new format this month. It might change next month, who knows? Change is always good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the dream with you on a different screen and then come back and give you the dream interpretation. So without much more delay, let's get into the dream.
I was inside a mall and I was taking my children to get haircuts. There was chaos in the section of the mall. Many people were there trying to get some sort of service because of the lockdown restrictions due to the worldwide pandemic. The boys and I were waiting outside the barber shop along with others. And at some point, I was able to take one of the boys in. I went in with my oldest and told my middle child to look after the youngest one. Once inside, we found that there was even more chaos. Everyone was trying to get service. There were random queues and I had to try and figure out which one to stand in with my son. Everyone was trying to make sense of the situation. At some point, one of the women who worked there saw us and asked why we had come. And I said, to get my son's haircut. She asked how it should be cut and I said, just neaten it up. That's when she said, sorry, we don't really offer that service anymore, which was baffling to me because it was a barber shop. I asked her why and she said that the government was now paying them. And if we wanted to get haircuts, we'd have to go to another salon, an upmarket expensive salon because they were the only ones offering the service. The small salons, the independent ones, had been taken over by government and the workers were being paid a pittance compared to what they used to make. I could tell that she was not happy about that setup. I left the barber shop and wasn't sure where my children were, but I knew they were safe. I started to walk around the mall in order to find them. And I noticed that there were children only in the mall. They were all just going about, doing things, being children, oblivious to what was happening. Then I came to an escalator which had a sensor, so as I stepped on, it started to move. I got onto the escalator with some kids, and when we got to the top, there was nothing, and we just jumped down to where we were before, almost like you would see in some video games. I then thought, well, that was pointless. The children just kept going on, up and down, oblivious to the fact that they weren't really doing much or getting anywhere. That's when I looked up to where the next level of the mall was. I saw a woman, a very sophisticated looking woman, wearing a serious looking suit. She looked very powerful. She looked as though she was monitoring what was happening in the mall. Then I heard her call me by my old name, and immediately my spirit quickened in me and I knew I had to deal with her. I found a bar stool which I could use to try and climb up to where she was, but when I tried to use it, it fell down into a heap of logs. It just came apart in my hands. Then I saw 2 chairs that didn't reach as high as the bar stool would have, but I grabbed one anyway because I was determined to get up there, and I managed to do so with much ease. Once I arrived, there were other people in this place with her. It looked like a control room of some sort. At first they tried to assert their authority in order to intimidate me, but I wasn't having any of it. I began to speak louder than they did and started to rebuke them for what they were doing to people. I had a bottle of hand sanitizer in my hand and with it I confronted each one by one. I sprayed their faces and asked, how does that make you feel? This is how you're making everyone feel. How does it feel? You are making everyone feel disgusting. I did this with all of them, and they couldn't speak or do anything. They each just shrank down into their seats. Once I was done confronting them, I jumped back down, but I felt like I was in trouble for what I'd done out of this passion for helping people. That's when the police showed up, and when they tried to come towards me, I just looked at them like, "You dare touch me, you will regret it." They couldn't do anything. They were just like the people I just confronted. They couldn't speak or act.
I'd like to start by sharing a scripture with you. Proverbs 31 verse 8 to 9 says, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed. Yes, speak up for the poor and helpless and see that they get justice." Friends, this dream was just absolutely, it was such a dynamic dream. It was one of those dreams where I just felt so strong and so powerful, as I'm sure you felt as I read the dream to you. So what the Lord is saying in this time is that this dream is related to the current time that we're in. It's related to what's happening in the world at the moment with the global pandemic, with the lockdown restrictions. I know that a lot of countries are coming out of that, and some countries are at a different stage, but the point is that there's a lot of chaos has been created out of this. There's been a lot of uncertainty. There's been a lot of wondering what's next. How are things going to be after all these restrictions are gone? When are we going to go back to normal? Are we ever going to go back to being normal again, or operating in the way that we used to? So in this dream, the Lord was showing me how this is the current state of things. We're all trying to figure this out. We're all trying to get through our day and trying to make sure that we get the services that we used to get. We're trying to hold on to life as we once knew it, and we're finding that it's hard to navigate. We're finding that we're having to relearn some things or learn to do things differently, and that's a very critical thing in this time, is to be able to hop onto that bandwagon of change that the Lord has brought along. He's allowed all of this to happen so that we can shift our mindsets as well. What the Lord was saying in this dream is that we are currently all trying to navigate and figure ourselves out, and there are things that are happening on other levels that we don't see, that we don't understand. So me being in the barber shop and trying to get a haircut for my child was a difficult process. I couldn't get this. It wasn't as easy as it used to be. And also the fact that this woman was saying that she doesn't offer that service anymore, and she was operating a barbershop, and that the government had taken over the business, and only certain other businesses could operate independently without being taken over by the government. And the Lord was showing me how these are things that are happening or will be happening or are coming. So the Lord is saying that this is the enemy's plan to try and snuff out the independent people, the independent businesses. The enemy is going after the economy. He's going after business. He's wanting to get to a point of where things can be controlled. And this isn't something new. I'm sure we've all heard about, a one world order or something along those lines. This is what is being planned. It's being planned in high places. And the people at the bottom are going to be affected. The people who have been independent, doing their own thing, not part of the system, we're all part of the system in one way or the other, but they are independent, they're entrepreneurs. The people that have really gone out on their own to do their own thing are being targeted, and the enemy's wanting to snuff that out, to snuff that independence out, to try and bring a system of control where the people at the bottom are extremely affected, because that barbershop that I was being directed to was ridiculously expensive. In the dream, I perceived it to be one that I actually know of, that I always walk past when I'm taking my kids to the barbershop that I normally take them to, and I always look in there and I'm like, even if I had like a lot of money, like tons of it, I still wouldn't come here because it's just ridiculously expensive. So that was what that was the barbershop that came up in the dream as the one that was allowed to operate independently. So there are things that the enemy is trying to implement in this world. He's trying to gain control. He's trying to get to God's people. He's trying to destroy God's plans for his people. He's trying to prevent the kingdom of heaven from being established here on earth. So the Lord is giving us insight into the enemy's plans. And this isn't anything new. I'm not telling you anything new right now in that regard, in that first part of the dream. This is something that we've known. We've been hearing about the end times and how our lives will be affected and how they want to bring a one world order and all of these things. There's different types of conspiracies out there, but we all have an understanding of what's coming based on the book of Revelation, on the book of Daniel. I encourage you to go and read those, so you can study further to understand what time it is right now, where we're at in the history of the world. So me coming out of the barber shop and walking around this mall with all these children and me not knowing where my children were, even though I didn't have any panic in me, the Lord was showing me how this situation, this chaos that has been created now, has left a lot of people vulnerable and oblivious to exactly what is going on in higher places. People are just carrying on, trying to make sense of things, trying to go back to normal. So all these children walking around the mall, just oblivious, being kids, just trying to have a normal situation. God is saying that a lot of people are trying to hold on to normality. And God is saying it's not the time to do that. He's saying that you've been left vulnerable because of the chaos. And there are some of you who it is your mandate, it is your calling, it is part of your calling, it's part of your ministry to be more discerning, to see what's really happening. God will give you insight. In fact, some of you, he will give you insight when you least expect it. Some of you are seeking that. You are in the front saying, Lord, use me, I will do whatever it is that you want me to do. And as you also are trying to understand what's happening, because you're experiencing this with everyone, we're all in this together. The part where I went up the escalator trying to get to the next level, trying to get to a higher level, and then finding that there was nothing there and all we had to do was jump down and we're back at where we started, and everyone else just carried on the cycle and just being there at the bottom level of the mall. But I looked up, and I looked up to that second level, and seeing that woman, the Lord said to me that there are people at the top in higher places that are controlling the situation. They're monitoring what's going on. They have set in motion certain events, and now they're monitoring to see what's the people's reaction, what's going on. Are things going according to plan? These people are being used by the enemy. So our battle is not against flesh and blood. We are not to go after people and start attacking or anything like that. That's not what the Lord is saying. The Lord is saying, be aware. He's giving you information about what's happening, and that it's the principalities, it's the works of the enemy, of the devil himself, using certain people in high places. So the Lord is saying that some of you will be bold enough to want to do something about it. And he's saying, you know, with the whole bar stool, me first trying to use that bar stool that just fell apart, God is saying, I just heard sober-minded, because I was like, why a bar stool? Like, that's something that you'd find in a bar. And the Lord said, yes, people need to be sober-minded, especially those that are called to confront these situations. So you have to be sober-minded. You have to know exactly what you're coming up against. And don't try to do things out of your own power, out of your own strength. Wait for the leading of the Lord. Let him help you. And don't judge things by how they look. So that stool looked like the perfect tool to use because it was quite high, much higher up than the chair. And that fell apart before me, and I then grabbed the chair and I easily got to that level. So the Lord is saying that he will make an easy way for you to get to those levels, to get to those places, to be able to have access in whatever way that means for you. So some of you are going to be in high governmental places. You're going to have access to that. And for some of you, it's different ways. It doesn't exactly mean that you're going to be in those circles. But God is going to give you access in his own way, in a way that you least expect, that you wouldn't think would have been as effective as what you thought would have been effective. Sorry, messages are coming in. So, train of thought. So, those of you that are called to seek justice for people. Yeah, this is what this word is essentially about. There are those of you who are called to seek justice for the people. People have been blinded. The world is running around scared, terrified of this pandemic, terrified of the chaos that has come up in various parts of the world. And there's so much unrest and uncertainty, and people are falling away from the faith, and there's so much, it's a mess. But there are those of you who are called to fight for justice, to bring justice. But our fight is not carnal. It's not a fleshly fight. It's not about using the sword or the gun or anything like that. It's using your authority in Jesus. You will have access to these places. And the enemy will try and pull you back into your old identity. He will try and make you look like you're that old person who couldn't stand up to anyone, who couldn't speak, who couldn't sing, who couldn't write, who couldn't express themselves, who was hiding in a corner somewhere. But the Lord is saying, remember your true identity. The name that He calls you by, the name that He's always called you by, but you didn't know, but now you know. Remember that, because that's the important thing. And when anyone tries to call you by your old name, you know that the enemy is using them, and you know that you need to use your authority in Jesus to stand against what it is that they're trying to do. So the Lord is saying He's going to give you access into these places, and when you are there, it's not even that you may feel intimidated initially. The Lord is going to groom you, or has already groomed you to a point where there's just no intimidating you. You know who you are, and you understand your mandate. So they may try and intimidate you, but with their position and their power, as they try to control the masses, they think they can control you too. But God says that you are going to have the courage to speak with authority in such a way that they cannot even respond. You will be able to passionately show them how they are hurting people, how the things they're doing are harming people. You'll be able to have them experience what they're doing to people to some degree in one way or the other. And friends, I encourage you to pray and ask God what that means for you. I'm not saying that we're all going to be able to use our mouths. It could be through writing. It could be through any means. You have to ask the Lord what that means for you, if this word is for you. So the Lord is saying that you're going to be able to walk in authority and speak in authority, and nothing will intimidate you, because you know who you are in Him, and you'll be able to bring down principalities. You'll be able to bring down and literally destroy the works of the enemy. You have the power. We need to get out of this mindset of it's too big, it's too much, it's bigger than me. It's not. You have the power. I'm very passionate about this word, as you can see, because enough is enough. The masses have been duped enough. It's been too long, and God is raising a generation that says, no, we're not having this. I know who I am in the Lord. I know that I'm royal. I know that I can stand in those places, and I can speak, and I can express myself, and nothing shall by any means harm me. The Lord is promising protection over you. Nothing will harm you if you stand for what He wants you to stand for, if you go in His name, by His leading and His calling to fulfill this mandate. And that part where I was feeling like, where I was worried that I might be in trouble, the Lord is saying, don't think that you're doing something wrong. You're doing the right thing because the Lord has called you to it. Even as they try and use the law against you, try and enforce the law against you, your authority will speak for you. Sometimes you won't even have to speak. It will just speak for you, and there's nothing that they can stand on. They're literally disarmed and can't do anything. So this is a powerful word, friends. This is a word for those that are ready to go take this kingdom by force, because God wants to establish His kingdom on earth. Until we see the unity of God's people. Very often I get comments about, yeah, but this unity thing doesn't make sense, because the one world order has been predicted in Revelation, and that's the enemy of the That's the tactic of the Antichrist, the enemy system. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that everyone in one accord and we all just believe whatever. No, I'm saying his remnant, his people, his kingdom people, unified, ruling on this earth in the authority that they've been given by Jesus Christ, a new heaven and a new earth. Friends, that is what the Lord is gunning for, and he's going to have it, and it's up to you whether you partner with the Lord or not. It's exciting times, friends. He's doing a new thing. It's out with the old and in with the new. So those of you who are called to confront these things, be bold and do it boldly, but only do it by the leading of the Lord. Never go into things because you're just passionate about it and I must go and sort that out and I must go and sort that out. No, that is not how we are to operate. It's always by God's leading. It's always by the leading of the Holy Spirit. We are to walk in partnership with him, because we can be overzealous and then end up in trouble. It's only when we are obedient and faithful to him that he's able to protect us as well. So stay close to the Lord. Stay under his protection and covering. That's really, really important, to go and do these things only if you're led by the Lord and if this is your mandate. So friends, I'm excited about this word. I'm excited for this new month. I'm just super excited today. I'm bursting with excitement. And I can't even pinpoint anything that happened that is like brought this on, except for the fact that I went to bed last night just really just asking the Lord, when is all of this warfare going to come to an end? And waking, like throughout the night, I just had the sense of a shift. I have this often when the Lord is shifting things. I can sense the shift throughout the night, and it doesn't even come in the form of a dream. It's just a feeling. It's just it just happens. I'm a light sleeper, so as I'm going in and out of sleep, I just feel the shift. I feel it, and I just remember just waking up like, I really feel very different from what I felt yesterday. I had a little bit of heaviness, which I was dealing with. I didn't want to entertain heaviness, but it was there, and I was, pressing in on the Lord and really just praying in tongues and trying to keep myself focused on Jesus. And then I woke up and it was like fresh, new, and I was like, yes, Lord, let's do this. I don't know what, but let's go and do it. So friends, I've rambled on long enough. I pray that this word has blessed you, for those that it's meant for. And I do encourage you guys to please join my memberships. We do live sessions, live broadcasts, whatever you want to call them, once a week. And I had started sharing dream elements, but I've had a little bit of hiccups in terms of my team. So we're going to be back on that. So I'm going to be sharing more on the dreams and dream elements, so that you guys can also just learn how to interpret your own dreams, because I know that I get asked that a lot, or I get people asking me to interpret their dreams, which the Lord has very strongly told me it is not what he has called me to do, and that he would be able to help each one understand their dreams, and that I can give pointers like I'm doing on the membership side. So I'd really appreciate that, friends. But otherwise, remember that you serve a wonderful, loving Father, and you are so, so, so special to him.
His love